For generations, we formally introduced education the exact same way. We put students into neat, identical rows, ask them to sit quietly, and rely on a single teacher at the front of the room to distribute all the knowledge. The learning process usually follows a strict linear path. You listen to a lecture, you complete an assignment, and eventually you take a test. Then you wait, sometimes days or weeks, just to find out if you actually understood the material. Under this system, scoring a 90% is celebrated. We hand out an A grade and move straight to the next chapter. But that means 10% of the foundational knowledge was completely missed, and we just accept that gap and leave it behind. Imagine applying that academic standard to the real world. If the pilot flying your commercial jet has mastered only 90% of the landing procedures, you are not going to feel good about that flight. Out there, we expect total mastery. Our traditional model caps a student's potential because of how it handles mistakes. It treats a failing grade as a final penalty to be avoided, rather than treating failure as the exact mechanism needed to reach 100% comprehension. To push past that 90% threshold and achieve absolute mastery, educators are turning to a different structural model: game-based learning. Gamification takes a static task, like a worksheet, and slaps digital badges and leaderboards on top, just to bribe students. Game-based learning is different. It integrates the game directly into the learning process. The game mechanics become the actual vehicle for complex problem-solving. While gamification tries to trick a student into completing an assignment, a well-designed game alters the environment entirely. It makes rigorous learning a strict requirement just to play. Cognitive scientists often point to a concept known as productive struggle. Think of your brain like a muscle. For a muscle to adapt, it requires heavy resistance, pushing past its current limits to ultimately grow stronger. Games naturally manufacture this state of effortful exertion. They change a student's relationship with mistakes by completely removing the shame of a bad grade. Instead, failing a level just provides immediate, actionable data. The traditional linear path is replaced by an infinite feedback loop. A player is presented with a meaningful challenge, they make an attempt, receive instant feedback, and adjust their strategy. Because this feedback is immediate, students can instantly course correct. They can explore and test dozens of different strategies in minutes, completely independently, without waiting for a teacher to grade their work. Here, failure is not the opposite of success. It is the exact cognitive fuel required to build intellectual resilience and arrive at a true understanding of the material. This model scales across almost any subject. Of course, it's important to memorize dates on a timeline. Students manage simulated civilizations. They have to form governments, allocate their resources, and experience the real-time consequences of their political choices. In STEM, students step away from static text box. They can physically manipulate three-dimensional calculus environments on a screen, or head outside to track data and manage the organic life cycles of a real-world garden ecosystem. This shifts the responsibilities of the educator. The teacher is no longer the sole provider of information. Instead, they become the architect of the experience, moving around the room to facilitate, guide, and ask questions. Deep learning occurs because the students own the strategic choices, while the teacher helps them analyze and reflect on why certain strategies worked and others collapsed. Of course, it's important to recognize that not all games belong in a classroom. A poorly designed game is nothing more than a digital distraction that wastes valuable instructional time. For a game to effectively educate, it requires rigorous design. It needs purposeful challenges strictly aligned with curriculum standards. It should offer a low floor, making it easy for anyone to start, and a high ceiling, allowing students to push their thinking to the absolute limit. A true learning game is never treated as a fun reward handed out after the real work is done. The game is the primary location where the actual work takes place. Consider how we acquire some of our most deeply ingrained skills. Nobody learns to ride a bicycle by reading a textbook about pedals. We learn by getting on the bike, losing our balance, and trying again. Bringing this approach into the classroom creates a distinctly different environment. It builds a space defined by engaged teamwork, autonomous problem-solving, and a total absence of the fear of making mistakes. Ultimately, game-based learning respects a student's intellect. It demands their active, iterative participation, transforming the classroom from a place of passive listening into a laboratory for absolute mastery.